And in spite of how it sounds, I'm aware of the unappealing nature of my Krakow speeches, which is from heaven, earth, hell, or any other place, because the nature of the time and history and the circumstances put me in a position where I gotta speak this way and sound like this. And so for this reason, I'm giving over to the tent and tabernacle of Sheik Roke Ak, Rese in heaven, meaning for all that tato, everything else I do will be perfect, finished, and holy to all tankratieka and sanctification, no matter what, because it must. And so for all days and tabernacle hoodship of all things, I'll always be esteemed, worthy, praise, shepherdship, and all things needed, no matter what. Because my holiness is unmeasured and my righteousness is infinite. And there's no limit to put on my power level, because it don't exist for a limitation to be set on it in the first place. So if it did, it'd still be okay, but it's none that's accurate ever. Yatmani, Takarit Tever, and Aviato, and Claperic level. And as a reminder, I'm still the same one named Dexter Ray Jr. Gardner or whatever, because I have to say that for the simple fact that that's the way it was placed on my Tybro Kako when I was born. And so anybody that was in the earth could only identify a person by the Tabra Hoko that they were born under. And since there was something similar to that or something along those lines, I had to be real and honest about it. And so since I did tell the truth and honesty, I was given over to the Clint tabernacle of Frokat Datsa. And the Clint means holy tabernacle of Chika Babo in heaven, which means I'm above all things naturally. And see, I gotta speak like this with me and also speak in a way of prophetic entrance, which means sometimes angels can commandeer my voice and speak for me if I needed it. But if I'm at my time of weaknesses, it don't really count as weaknesses. It's just strengths. And so for me to be here in terms of the afterlife is great, because the attack I've been under for the last 8 months in the earth time, earth road, is the worst thing that ever happened in the universe to a human soul. But it received no cancro, and nobody cared because they had an objective and an ulterior motive to all that they said and did. And so that's what it was. They was gonna do things to the righteous innocent, and did, but don't acknowledge that they have. And you know, the things done to the Krakow blood is permanent, and that's something that they all should know in heaven, Laco. And they ruined the Krakow blood with absolute amnesty in secret with close clock Kroko maneuvers and Kliklo Pishipapapateko type stuff forever. And they do it and they don't stop no matter what, and they keep going harder and harder and harder, and then all of a sudden they stop, and then they say that they gone, then they come right back the next couple hours in the same way, and then they erase things that's not possible to see, touch, or attain, and then they also put it back worse and not in the perfect shape that it should have been in, so they continue with an onslaught of Rico Bible attacks, and then they have no excuse for it, except they're against God and against the Lord of Kayad by nature and default, and not by name or Tayad, which is no longer Rashokaba, because to use a name to describe the shepherdhood is no longer possible, because it is no longer reasonable, feasible, or optional, because a name is nothing in particular in the new world ever, because they made it to where a name would keep people in power arbitrarily who are no longer eligible for that position or seat in glory ever. And so that's the truth. They're no longer eligible because they're no longer there, and they're no longer in a place where they should be. Why so in any other way? I mean, morally or impeccably. Yeah. And Ratsatiyadali as well, which is heavy the talents for the inner work is making, and kings of racial righteousness. They no longer have nor can attain it because of what they done already to the righteous blood of Crux. And they harmed the righteous blood of Crux, which is something that can't be recoverable no matter what. Because if blood is on their hands, it's forever there. Or the righteous Prakoeta. Because they knew things that didn't. Yeah, even though they did. Which is weird in Bible terms, but not today in warfare. Because that's the way that they play. To know things and remove it from yourself so you don't know it. It's Raso Toko, and that's why there was no deity on Krakow boats from the year 1998 until 2008. There was no deity on the Krakow post, and it's sad to know, but it's true. So after 2008, in the afterlife, things turned up, but not much. It just means there was a here. Yeah, somebody that could do it. But from 1998 to 2008, there was nobody on the face of the planet that could take the position of God righteously. Yes, for the new world. But in 2009, there was. But the person was not aware, nor were they themselves the entire time. And so when these things was happening, the only thing that did matter was the afterlife perspective. Because in the earth, there was nothing to see or go on. And so in the earth, since there was nothing to see or go on, there was nothing flesh, physical, or anything worthy of the tabernacle of holyship in heaven, in any which way. Because the closest you could come to it would have been the afterlife readings. And if they could see the swayed things way back in those times, which is a long time now, but not at the time, then they'll know that that was a peculiar time in history, in every which way. A very peculiar time in history. Because those times were so peculiar that everything in the universe was covered with astral dust impound, was so told. And it was something so severe and intense that nobody else could feel it, see it, or do anything except those who was saying don't repent. And so that should tell you where they stand. And that's the way it was. If they told people not to repent, then those people would not go to hell or heaven. They'll stay in the earth. But they didn't realize that it's possible, for somebody to come up. And when they did, they died. Because it was no longer needed or optional for them to come up. And that was it. And so, with this recording, I bring to ends upon Russell to speak the truth of the kings and condos, meaning I made a lot of profound masterpieces. And it was the first of its kind and the only in the age and era. I mean, from literature to prolific diaticos and speeches. But listen, none of them came close to this one for the simple fact it's happening at a time of prophetic quadriquoescence, meaning heaven and earth is coming alive supernaturally in plain sight at the time of this recording because of something that I said in it. So that's a huge model or concept to Kambaso, meaning to digest or discuss. Because if a man does something so severe that the universe comes here authentically, naturally, and righteously, then there's something more about him that he could explain. And so if people didn't explain what they saw these times, then they was forgetting it or somebody else was taking it away from their brain in an unnatural way. And so if these people could not give praise to the one and only Watso, then they didn't have to. But that's the difference between somebody who is a king and somebody who just wants you to know about their name, Watso, or what is their name. And so that's the name. The name is Chief Wayetu Combos, but Ellie is Chitdata Wasata Ego, and that's the best I can put it for you, because anything else is not needed forever, and just so it goes. So if you see it as the Chief Criedo, it ain't somebody that's talking about a clever. It's just a time in history which called for the rose, and that's the reason why it was there like Moses, like it's the clever, and that's the truth, because each of these spiritual beings were direct in every which way by the time the hair got to the hard road yard, Wazo, you know what I'm saying? Because when the hair got there, it was over. And so I end this recording with the Gilcroft thanks for everybody who took time to pay attention to Roz and doing the things of the righteous counsel and paying attention to Oz, because these people were here out of curiosity, but they themselves are the testimony of John Frank Witherspoon, which means in heaven, somebody who saw something so intense that they can go to heaven because it wasn't their fault. And I myself is a part of that bunch in a different way. Why so the Yoko? Like intricate. And that's the way it was. And so I say, frost out, my bit, and know that the new world is always fun no matter what. And it's always perfect and holy and pure in the sight of the Lamb. And nobody else care about cure. And nobody else care about the damned, ever. Because everything is always there, honest, righteous, and clever. And nobody else care about the Titans and devils. And nobody care about much Trishik and Bevel. Because they dead with Fred Leg Moses, Lopez head. Yadade, Claudio, Coquez, Ted, Ross, Mighty, Povieta, Inc. Black 473. Off.